Radhe 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 Shri Radhe
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 Radhe Radhe Radhe श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे 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 श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री 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 राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री 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 राधे
बरसाने वारी की
जय
The last couple of days I've been explaining about the path of Raganuga Bhakti. I told you that Raganuga Bhakti is the means of purifying the heart so that we can receive Shri Krishna's grace. When our heart is fully surrendered, then instantly through the Guru he will grace us, and that grace will make our heart, our mind, in Sanskrit we have one word, antahkarana, divine. So our whole faculties of our mind and senses become divine. And into our divine heart, Shri Krishna will give his bhakti, his prema bhakti. Our supreme goal will be realized. But to receive that divine gift, we have to prepare our heart. In order to prepare it to receive the divine love of Shri Krishna, we have to do devotion. So that devotion is also called bhakti, but it's called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana is something you do to attain your goal. And although our sadhana is not you can't say that because I did sadhana, I earned Shri Krishna's divine love. No, he's willing to give it free of charge because it's priceless. There's nothing we can do to earn it or to qualify for it. All we have to do is prepare ourselves to receive it. So to do that, we have to do sadhana bhakti, which will purify our mind. It will make us become attached to Shri Krishna. This sadhana bhakti specifically is called Raganuga Bhakti, which is different than Vaidhi Bhakti because it does not bind us by any set of rules of how we have to practice devotion. Raganuga Bhakti gives freedom to practice devotion anyway, as long as our mind is in Krishna. Nonetheless, there are some principles of Raganuga Bhakti that have to be understood before we can practice it correctly. Even though we have a lot of freedom, we still have to understand the principles of devotion. Thus, we've been looking at the scriptures and we've seen that Jagadguru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj has extracted the essence of all the devotional practices and he's presented it to us in a set of, you can say, characteristics or conditions of the path of bhakti. So far we've looked at 3 of those. The first one was bhakti is done with the mind. It is not done with the body. If you want to include your body in the practice of devotion, that's good. It will probably help you focus your mind. But the mind is first and foremost. If the mind is not doing smaran, if mind is not engaged in thinking of Radha Krishna and Guru, or Krishna's Naam, Roop, Leela, Guna, Dham, Jan, any of these 6 things, then we are not doing bhakti. And if our mind is engaged and physically we're not doing anything, but our mind is remembering any of those 6 things, then we are doing bhakti. So condition number 1, bhakti must be done with the mind. Condition number 2 is nishkamata. our love for Shri Krishna should not be sullied by any kind of material desire or even the desire for liberation. Desires reside in our heart, and we'll continue to desire the world until we reach a much more advanced stage of heart purification. So it's not about first becoming devoid of worldly desires, then starting your devotion. No. By doing devotion, you purify your heart, then gradually the worldly desires leave. What it means to be nishkam, it means don't bring those desires into your devotion. Don't come with a list to Shri Krishna and just start asking him for this and that. That is not true devotion. You see, the thing we're asking for is what we're really attached to, right? So if we're asking Krishna for some worldly thing, like let's say we want $1 million, and we're praying to Krishna for $1 million, do we love Krishna or do we love $1 million? We love the money that we're asking for. We don't love Krishna. We're trying to use Krishna to get the thing we want. So this is not devotion. This is not even called sakam bhakti. True sakam bhakti is when we desire Krishna for our happiness. Like Kubja wanted to meet Krishna and have Shri Krishna's affection because that would make her happy. See, she wasn't asking for the world from Krishna. She was asking for Krishna's love, for her own happiness. So this is sakam bhakti. Nothing wrong with that. Although it's not the best thing. The best thing is what I told you yesterday, is when we think of Krishna's happiness first, like the gopis. We also desire for Krishna's affection. We want his vision. But our primary thought and desire is what would make Krishna happy. And if him not coming to me will make him happy, then I'm happy in his happiness. I just want to see him happy. Such was the sentiment of gopis. And if we can, even if we can't feel that yet in our heart, if we pray to Shri Maharaji with his grace, we'll start getting little feelings of what is that sentiment of true nishkamta. And eventually we'll be able to understand it and practice devotion along these lines. So we should not ask Krishna for bhakti, which means any worldly thing, even up to the enjoyments of swarg, nor should we ask him for mukti, because liberation is in fact the worst thing of all. Bhukti mukti sprihaya vat pishachi hridi vartate. Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu that this bhukti and mukti, if they reside in your heart, the desire for them resides in your heart. It's like having two witches residing in your heart. And Bhakti Mahadevi, the divine goddess of bhakti, cannot come and take up residence in your heart until you get rid of those two witches. But out of the two, mukti is much worse, because if you get mukti, that's forever. Then you'll never have another birth. You'll never be born in this world again, and you'll never have the chance to attain his divine love, his divine bhakti. At least if you keep desiring bhakti, at least you'll get another birth and another birth and another birth, and one day you may meet a Rasik Mahapurush and get the true knowledge, and you can practice bhakti and attain Krishna's divine love. But if you ask for mukti and you get that, then no more births, no more conscious awareness, just the state of unconscious blissfulness. Okay, so we understood nishkamata, the second condition. The third one is really just a refinement of the second one. our love should be ahaituki. Ahaituki means unconditional. Our love should not be based on the behavior of our beloved. Like Parvati, she was Sati, then she left her body, she came back as Parvati, and she wanted to get Lord Shiva as her husband. So she went and did devotions in the jungle for a long time. Now, the other great personalities of the Brahmand, they wanted Shiv and Parvati to get married. But Shivji was on Mount Kailash in his samadhi, completely absorbed, and Parvati was there doing devotion, waiting to win Shivji's heart with her devotion. So the rishis went and they roused Lord Shiva, and because they wanted them to meet. But first they said, let us test Parvati's love for Lord Shiva. So they went to Parvati and they tried to convince her not to love Shivji. So they talked about all of his avaguna. So they said, why do you love Lord Shankar? He will never be able to make you happy. He doesn't have awareness of anyone or anything. He's always in samadhi. He'll never give you attention or make you feel happy by talking to you, looking at you. He's just in his samadhi all the time. Parvati is listening. They say, furthermore, he doesn't even have a proper roof over his head. He doesn't live in a palace or anything. He just lives on Mount Kailash. What to say of a palace to live in? He doesn't even have proper clothes to wear. And you've seen his amangal vesh. I mean, ashes smeared all over his body, his hair matted on top of his head, and a mala of skulls around his neck, scorpions and spiders and snakes adorning his body. You really want someone like that as your husband? They said, you should make Vishnuji your husband. His look is very mangal, and he'll give you proper affection and attention. Parvati listened, and when they were done telling her all the things about Lord Shankar that would not make her happy, then she said, Janm koti lagi ragari hamari, barau shambhu natu rahau kumvari. Look, I don't care about any of those things. My nature is to love Shankarji. My only desire is to be married to him. I don't care, does he look at me or he doesn't look at me. I don't care how is he dressed. I don't care what does he own or doesn't own, or where does he live. My only job is to be surrendered to him. So even if it takes millions of lifetimes for Lord Shankar to accept me, I will keep doing devotion to him, and until he marries me, I will remain unmarried. So this is unconditional love. She said, I don't care about his guna or avaguna. I don't care about his behavior or misbehavior. None of that matters. I love him, not his qualities or his behavior. I love him. So this is the third characteristic of true bhakti, which is that our devotion should be ahaituki, not based on not dependent on any behavior or quality of the beloved. Now let us see what is the fourth characteristic of true bhakti. According to Bhagavatam, Savai punsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradhokshaje ahaituk vyavahita ahaitukya pratihata yayatma samprasidati lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya hyudahritam ahaitukya vyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. So we covered the first, that bhakti should be nirguna, without any kind of desire from God. And we covered the next one, should be ahaituki. Now the third one is avyavahit, which is described by Rup Goswami as anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam Bhaktir Samrit Sindhu. So first one, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Your devotion should be free of all other desires, only the desire for Krishna's happiness should remain. And Jnana Karmadhya Navritam. Your practice of bhakti should be independent from other practices, because bhakti is supreme. Bhakti revainam nayati, bhakti revainam pashyati, bhakti revainam darshayati, bhakti vasha purusho bhakti reva bhuyasi. Ved says bhakti is the only way that a soul can reach God. Bhaktyaatvananyaya shakya ahamevam vidhorjuna gyatum drashtuncha tatvena praveshtuncha parantapa. Only through bhakti, Shri Krishna says in the Gita, Naham vedairna tapasa nadanena na chejjaya shakya evam vidho drashtum drishtavana simam yatha. All other practices, karma, gyan, yoga, these are good practices. They're described in the scriptures, but they don't result in God realization. Na sadhayati mam yogo na sankyam dharma uddhava na swadhyayastapastyago yatha bhaktir mamorjita. Bhaktyahame grahya shraddhayatma priya satam bhakti punati mannishtha shvapakanapi sambhavat. Bhagavatam. Shri Krishna is telling Uddhav that all other practices, whether it be gyan, yoga, karma, dharma, swadhyay, jap, tap, all these practices don't result in you conquering God. Yatha bhaktir mamorjita. Shri Krishna says, I am conquered by devotion. Bhaktyaham grahyaha. Through bhakti, you get a hold of me. So bhakti is supreme, because what is bhakti? Bhakti is the means of capturing or captivating Krishna's heart. How? You give yourself to him. Bhakti means, Krishna, I am yours. So it is Krishna's nature. He's so kind-hearted, soft-hearted, that if someone says, Krishna, I'm just yours, and that person isn't asking for anything in return, and in fact that person has a sentiment that I want to make Krishna happy, and we give ourselves to Krishna with such a sentiment, then Krishna says, oh, I have to give myself to this soul. So imagine, God gives himself to you. God is the Lord of everything. Through bhakti, you conquer the Lord of everything. He becomes yours. Then what is left to ask for? What is left to attain? Nothing. He gives it all without you even asking, because you just gave yourself. So he gives himself to you. But bhakti is the only way of doing that, because in bhakti you say, Krishna, I'm yours. You don't depend on any other practice, like I'm doing yoga, I'm doing gyan, I'm doing all this karma. No, you leave all that. So bhakti is supreme. Therefore, if you're following the path of bhakti, navritam, Rupa Goswami says, no avarana, no interference of any other path. Like someone called me today and they were asking that we had a death in the family recently. So in certain mandirs, you're not allowed to go, or you're not supposed to go. It's not appropriate to go to the mandir for a certain period after, in certain traditions. So this is karmakand, right? These are rules of karmakand, of Vedas. So they were asking me, but am I allowed to go to Radha Madhav Dham? Another one of our mandirs in Austin. So I said yes. According to Kripaluji Maharaj, there's no such restriction. In Raganuga Bhakti, because Bhakti is supreme, your love for Krishna rules supreme. You are not bound by any other rules of karma or Vedas or anything. You go to Krishna, that's it. But if someone starts trying to now mix and match, okay, I'm following the path of Raganuga Bhakti, but I also have to observe all these other rules and regulations, no. Now that's interfering in your path of devotion. So once you adopt the path of Raganuga Bhakti, you abandon all those other practices. That's what Shri Krishna is saying. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja Gita. Leave all the other dharmas and only surrender to me. Dharman santyajya sarvan mam bhajet sacha sattamah Bhagavatam. Shri Krishna again is saying, the greatest devotee is the one who leaves all other dharmas and only does my bhakti. So when bhakti is supreme anyway, why are we wasting our time with other paths and practices? The point of any practice is to purify our mind so we can get more surrendered to Shri Krishna. When you're trying to do a job, like let's say you have a big hole you want to fill in. The hole is 100 feet deep, 100 feet wide, and you have a big bulldozer. So you're moving the dirt with the bulldozer. Most efficient way, you're filling that hole in as fast as you can. Then will you, after 10 minutes, say, let me just get down from my bulldozer and throw some shovelfuls in the hole. That's like, I'm doing bhakti, okay, let me stop and now do this karmakand. Let me stop and do this yoga. Let me stop and do this pranayam. Now it's another matter that when it comes to the health of the physical body, if you want to practice some yoga asana or these kinds of things, that's good. The healthier your body is, the more alert your mind is, the better devotion you can do. But it's not, oh, I'm following the path of yoga. I'm doing yam, niyam, pranayam, pratyahar, all this to get yogic siddhis, wake up my kundalini, get my chakras going. You throw all that out. Leave all the other practices. Bhakti swatantra sakala sukha khani tehi adhina jnana vijnana. So bhakti is not dependent on any other path. All other paths are dependent on bhakti. If the yogi surrenders to Krishna through bhakti, then he can reach Krishna. If the jnani surrenders to Krishna, if the karmi surrenders to Krishna, then they can become God realized. But leaving out bhakti and trying some other practice doesn't lead to God realization. And if we're already doing bhakti and we're leaving that and trying to bring in some other practice as if bhakti needs to be supplemented, no, we're wasting our time and we're getting confused. Bhakti is supreme. When you've received admittance in university, do you also go and take your kindergarten classes? You left that, you graduated. So this is the fourth condition. Bhakti is supreme, it is independent, so it should not have any interference from any other path. Yat karma bhiryat tapasa jnana vairagyatascha yogena dana dharmena shreyo bhiritarairapi. Bhagavatam. Shri Krishna tells Uddhav, you only do bhakti and you get the result and the benefit of every other path and practice automatically. Even mukti. Bhakti karati soi mukuti gosai anichhit avat bhariyai. Liberation comes running if you do bhakti. You don't even have to ask Krishna for it. I don't want any liberation, and liberation comes with folded hands. Mukti comes with folded hands. But you've surrendered to my Swami, Shri Krishna, so I've come to serve you. Mukti also comes without even doing anything else. Therefore, do bhakti, leave all the other practices. Now we come to the fifth characteristic. The fifth characteristic is when we do devotion, do not worship God. जब हम भक्ति करते हैं तो भगवान की भक्ति नहीं करनी है. भगवान से भगवत्ता निकाल के उनकी भक्ति करनी है. We have to take the godliness out of God and do devotion to Him. So this may be a new concept for some of you, but it will make sense if you think about it. Take the example of Arjun in Gita. He asked Krishna, Drashtumichhami te rupa maishwaram purushottamah. Oh Krishna, you're telling me that you're God and you're omnipresent and all-powerful, and I believe you, but now I want to see your Aishwarya Swarup, your almighty form. So Krishna said, Natumam shakya se drashtu manenaiva svachakshusha. You can't see me with your eyes, Arjun, but since you're 100% surrendered to me, Divyam dadami te chakshu pashyame yogamaishwaram. I'll give you divine eyes, and with divine eyes you'll see my divine form. So then Shri Krishna showed Arjun, and he saw Krishna filling the whole space from the earth to the sky, and everywhere he looked, all he saw was Krishna. And the whole universe was within Krishna. And anywhere he looked in the universe, he saw Krishna. Unko chakkar aa gaya. It was so overwhelming for him. He said, Disho na jane na labhet cha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa. Oh, please, Krishna, I've seen enough of your almighty form. I want you as my friend again. I don't know which way is up and which way is down. I'm disoriented. I'm overwhelmed. Please just resume your loving form like you were before. So you see, if we think of God as God, then there's that almost fear, actually. There's certainly a distance and a formality between us. And the more distance and formality there is, the less love there is. So in Raganuga Bhakti, the goal is not to formally worship God. No, the goal is to love Krishna. To love God, you have to forget He's God. Like Prahlad. Krishna came in the form of Narsingh Bhagwan to save Prahlad, and Even Brahma, Shankar, Lakshmi, Indra, they were all hesitant to go in front of him. He was half lion, roaring. He's just killed Hiranyakashipu. And they're having a little meeting saying he came and did such a big service to us, eliminating this demon. Someone should go and do his Abhinandan. It's traditional. We always do it this way. But who would go first? No one had the courage to go first. Brahma is telling Shankarji, you just do pralay by opening your third eye. You're so powerful, you go first. He says, no, you do srishti, you go first. No, I can't go. Lakshmi ji, you're his ardhangini, you're always pressing his feet, you go. No, I'm not going in front of him when he's like this. And what to say of Indra? So they're all having this discussion. Prahlad says, I'll go. 7-year-old Prahlad goes first. No fear. Why? Because he's not thinking he's God. He's my father. That's it. He just went to him like that. And Narsingh Bhagwan, all that ferocity just disappeared from his face. His face became soft and smiling, and he picked up Prahlad. His hands were so huge, he could hold that 7-year-old boy in one hand. And with the other hand, he steadied his head and he started dancing out of joy and crying tears of joy. So in Prahlad's mind, he's not God, he's my father. That's it. So Rasik Mahapurush have said, don't worship God as God. Use one of 4 bhav to love him and take out his bhagavata so that you can feel very close to him. There's actually 5 bhav, but the first bhav is called Shant bhav, and that's okay, he's God, he's the king, and I'm a subject in his kingdom. So Rasik Mahapurush say, leave that aside. There's no ras in that. That's niras. It's too distant of a relationship. Use the other 4, dasya, sakhya, vatsalya, madhurya. So Rup Goswami, he has said, anyabhilashita shunyam karma jnanavritam, no avaran of karma or jnana or any other path, and anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. Love Krishna with anukul bhav. So that anukul bhav is these 4. Dasya, sakhya, vatsalya, madhurya. This is the 5th condition of Raganuga Bhakti. Adopt one of these 4 bhav in your devotional meditation. Whenever you think of Krishna, do it with one of these 4 bhav. So the first one, dasya bhav, is where you feel I'm the servant and Krishna is my master, like Hanumanji and Bhagwan Ram. See, that servitude sentiment melts Bhagwan's heart. Look what Ram is saying to Hanumanji. Ekaikasyopakarasya pranan dasyami te kape sheshasyehopakarāṇam bhavam rinino vayam. Valmiki Ramayana. He says to Hanumanji that you have served me with everything you have. So for me to repay even one thing that you've done in seva for me, I would have to give myself, give my life. Pranan dasyami te kape. I would have to give you my life. So that would repay one thing. But what about the rest? Sheshasya hopakarāṇam. What about the rest? Bhavam rinino vayam. I will just have to remain indebted to you. I have no way of repaying. So see, even dasya bhav, the first, although sakhya, vatsalya, madhurya are considered successively higher and greater, But even dasya bhav brings God under the control of the das. Sometimes the das forgets he's the das and the Swami forgets he's the Swami. Prabhu taru tar kapidar par. Hanumanji is sitting up in the tree and Ram is sitting on the earth below at the bottom of the tree. So the das is sitting on the Swami's head. That's against dharma. And Ram is Maryada Purushottam Brahm. He has come to establish the strict discipline of dharma. And yet he is not scolding Hanumanji, and his loyal servant Hanumanji is not realizing his transgression. Why? Because both are drowned in each other's love. Where love takes over, there's no Maryada. So even in Dasya Bhav, sometimes it happens that the Swami thinks of himself as a servant and the servant thinks of himself as Swami, because both forget their place in each other's love, in this Dasya Ras. Nonetheless, Dasya Bhav still, most of the time, has a lot of formality. Like Bharat said, he was walking to go to Chitrakoot to try to convince Ram to come back and rule the kingdom. So he was walking barefoot because Ram had also walked barefoot, and someone who was coming along with him said, Bharat, Maharaj, please sit on the chariot. How are you walking like this with your soft feet? And he said, Sirbal chalau dharam asmora sab te sevak dharm kathora. He says, no, I cannot sit on the chariot. My Ram has gone this way. He has walked this way. I should be putting my head on every footprint of my beloved Ram's. How could I sit in a chariot and drive over his footprints? So this is the dharma of the sevak, which is very difficult to adhere to. Seva dharma paramagahano yoginam apyagamya. Even a great yogi would have difficulty following all the do's and don'ts of being a true sevak. Like Lakshman, for all 14 years of Banavas, wherever they were walking through these mountainous trails, he never once put his foot on Sita or Ram's footprint. So he's walking like this, avoiding. If someone's watching him, they must be thinking, what's wrong with this boy? He can't walk in a straight line? It's a single file trail. It's so narrow. How is he walking like this? But he was doing it out of respect. In 14 years, he never put his foot on Ram or Sita's footprint. So this Dasya Bhav is very difficult to observe. But the sentiments of Dasya Bhav are also very sweet. So if we include the sentiments of Dasya Bhav and we go into Sakhya Bhav, Sakhya Bhav includes Dasya Bhav's feelings, but also includes more intimacy and has less restriction. In Sakhya Bhav, you forget that Krishna is God whatsoever. His friends used to go out grazing the cows with him every day, and they were just best friends. In Sakhya Bhav, the bhavana you have for Krishna is, he is my best friend. So best friends are equals. One is not greater, one is not lesser, like God and the soul. One is greater, one is lesser. No. To have Sakhya Bhav, you have to forget Krishna is God. You make him your best friend. That is Sakhya Bhav. So thus, Gwalbals would go out grazing with Krishna, grazing the cows every day. Krishna would sit in the tree and play his flute. Because the cows are grazing over here, 2 or 3 boys can look after everybody's cows. The rest can play. Krishna's here playing his flute. Then some other boy starts playing some beat on some kind of drum. So Krishna and his friends start dancing together. Then After dancing for a while, they decide, now let's have some wrestling contests. So they start wrestling and rolling around like boys do. Then they feel tired, so Balram puts Krishna's head in his lap and the other sakhas are pressing Krishna's legs and his feet. And as they walk, they joke and they tease each other. And when they eat lunch, they share everything all around with no formality whatsoever. Had a bite. Oh, this is so good. Krishna, try this. Giving jutha, just like Shabari did. And Krishna is enjoying it so much. Krishna is not saying, hey, don't you know who I am? I'm God. How dare you? No, Krishna has also forgotten. Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj has stressed this fact many times that Krishna is not acting in this Sakhya Bhav. He's not saying that, okay, this soul wants me to be his friend, so let me act like I'm his friend. Krishna forgets his godliness. All he knows is the love of that devotee. And he behaves exactly in the same way. He has the same feelings in his heart. So how much that friend loves him, Krishna loves him the same way. How much that friend wants to be with Krishna, Krishna wants to be with his friend. So we can also adopt this Sakhya Bhav in our practice of devotion as a way of getting the Bhagavata out, getting God's almightiness out of our consciousness. Because the more we're conscious of his almightiness, the farther we are from him. We know he's God, it's fine, but we don't want to think about it or be conscious of it when we're doing devotion. Now, including Dasya and Sakhya Bhav in it, but going further with more intimacy, is Vatsalya Bhav. In Vatsalya Bhav, not only we go past the point of equality, don't we? Because in Vatsalya Bhav, you're the mother, you're the parent, you're the father, and Krishna is your son. So now, when you think that really sincerely in your heart, Krishna is my son, then aren't you in charge? You're the boss of him. He has to do. He has to listen to you. You'll wake him up, you'll make him sleep, you'll bathe him, you'll dress him, you'll feed him, you'll scold him, you'll hold him, give him affection. If you look at him with that love, the way a mother looks or a father looks, Krishna will give you the same love that a child gives to their parents. He will feel, I am dependent on this woman. I am dependent on her. He's forgotten he's God to the point that now he is crying to get into your lap. He's crying, give me roti, I'm hungry. God is hungry? Yeah, he forgot he's God. Now feed me, mom. There's a beautiful description of young Krishna when he's just learning to crawl around the palace and he's getting hungry and finding some butter to eat here and there. So he's starting his chori early on, stealing butter in his own house. Shunye chori atah swayam nijagrihe hayyangavinam manistambhe swapratibimbameekshitavataste naiva sardhambhiya Bhratarmavadamataram mama samo bhagastavapi hito bhungchvetyaalapato hare kalavacho. He's saying this beautiful description that matrarah shruyate. Maya is secretly watching this thing that Krishna is doing. Krishna thinks he's alone in his house and he's stealing butter. He has a butter pot and he's eating. And then all of a sudden in one of the pillars, because the pillars in the home of Nanda Baba and Yashoda they were studded with gems. So you could see your reflection. When he saw his reflection, he thought he saw another boy. And at first he was scared. Some boy has entered my house. And then he saw this boy is also stealing butter like me. So he started making a deal with him that Bhratar Mavad Mataram, don't tell mother, okay? I won't tell on you, you don't tell on me. And you can even have half of my butter. So he starts feeding, like him taking one mouthful and then giving the pillar one mouthful, smearing it on the boy in the pillar. Then he notices mother from behind, that, oh, my mother, she just caught us both. So then he says, Matah kaesha navanita midam twadiyam lobhena chorayitu madhya grihe pravishtah madvarnam namanute mamarosha bhaji rosham tanoti nahi me navanita lobha. Mother, you're always accusing me of stealing butter, but today I've caught the real thief. I always told you I was innocent. See, I caught this boy. He's entered our house and he's stealing butter. I'm not greedy for butter, mother. He is the greedy one. I try to stop him. He doesn't listen to me. If I make an angry face at him, he makes an angry face at me. And I show him my fist, he shows me his fist. Mother, if you catch this boy, there will be no more stealing of butter in the house from today. Mother, imagine what ras she's getting, the vatsalya ras of seeing her little Lala so innocently behaving like this. This is the Lord of the universe. But Maya doesn't think of that at all. If she thinks it's the Lord of the universe, she'll think, kya natak kar raha hai? Right? Oh, he's just acting like this. No, he's not acting. He forgot he's God because of your love, Maya. You made him forget he's God. So this is Vatsalya Bhav. This is an example of a Vatsalya Bhav, Leela. But all of this Dasya, Sakhya and Vatsalya Ras is included in Madhurya Bhav, which is the love of gopis for Shri Krishna. Antargrihe Krishnamavekshya Chauram Badhva Kapatam Janani Gataika Ulukhale damani baddhane menam tatrapi drishtva stimitava bhuva. So now see an example of the interaction between Krishna and the gopis. The gopis are always telling Maya that your little Lala, you think he's such an angel, but actually he's always breaking into our homes and stealing our butter, finding different ways of getting at things. If we're too close, then he'll find a distraction. He'll sneak into the room where our baby's sleeping, pinch his cheek till he starts crying. Then when I go in that room, then he goes in the room where the butter is kept and has free reign in there. Maya never believes anything. So today this gopi came home and without entering the house, she saw from outside, Tanha has entered my house. Antargrihe Krishnamavekshya. She saw inside the house, Chauram. He is stealing butter in my house. So Badhva Kapatam. She closed the door from outside and locked it. And Janani Gataika. She went over to Mother Yashoda. And when she reached Mother Yashoda, because she's thinking she's going to grab Maya and bring her back to the house and show her, look, your Lala is locked in my house. I caught him in there stealing butter. So she went, and when she got there, Ulukhale damani baddha menam. She saw Kanha tied to the ukhal in Maya's house. So she's looking and she's shocked. And Maya is saying, what, Gopi? Bolo? Bol? What did you come here for? She's speechless, seeing Krishna there. So she quickly goes back to her house, thinking, no, I know I have him in here. When she opened the door, it was her husband she had locked in the house. So Krishna had tricked her into locking her husband in the house. Of course, he wasn't happy about it. So this type of playful interaction happens with the gopis. Gopis, everything is Krishna, but in love, things are not always very formal and proper. You like some playfulness, you like some naughtiness, you like some teasing, some taunting. Krishna used to wait for gopis in Sankari Khor. It's a very narrow passage between on Barsana Hill. If you want to get from Barsana village to Chiksoli village, the shortcut goes through a very narrow passageway with rocks on both sides. So really, there's room just for you to put your feet like this side by side, and you just walk. Otherwise, the rock goes up like that. Sankari Khor. It's a perfect place for an ambush. So Shri Krishna used to jump out in that trail when gopis were in a delicate situation. They have their curd pot on their head and they're going to Chiksoli village to sell the curd. Now if this gets broken, their mother-in-law is going to be upset. You went to sell the curd, you come back with no money, and also you've broken the pot. So Krishna has them in a delicate situation, so he jumps out in front and he says, Gopi, you give the curd tax. I am Brajraj. I am the king of Braj. Little Thakurji thinks he's the king of Braj. And he's saying, look, the choice is yours. Either you give me a couple handfuls of curd and you be on your merry way, or if you refuse, I'll just break your pot. The choice is yours. So this one gopi, she was a little clever. She said, okay. Look, you need something to keep the curd in. So you go here in this kunj right here, there's some trees with big leaves. You bring one of those big leaves and I'll give you the curd in that. So little Kanha said, okay, he went over there, and in the meanwhile, the gopi went and hid. So Krishna came back with his leaf and he's scratching his head. The gopi's gone. He's a little flustered. So he says, I'll get her next time I see her. So anyway, in the meantime, Radharani came with all the gopis, and this one gopi related this incident. So Radha said, today we're going to teach a lesson to that Kanhaiya. So he'll be back in this very same area, so we'll set a trap for him. So what they did was, the same gopi went back again. And Radharani said, look, when Kanha comes, then you yell out and all the other gopis will come and surround him. And what they did was, they surrounded him, then they tied him up to the tree, and then according to Radharani's instructions, they said, now you make him do utthak baitak, holding his ears. You make him do utthak baitak, asking for forgiveness and saying, I'll never ask for the curd tax again. And then once he does all of this, then you call me. And then he can ask me to release him. So they did all that, and Radharani came and said, now no more naughtiness. And Kanha had to say, okay, no more naughtiness. Then they let him go, and he just ran off because he was embarrassed. He was surrounded by all these gopis, so he ran off. So these are the types of playful interactions between Krishna and gopis, even though gopis only want Krishna's happiness and Krishna only wants gopis' happiness, but this is how they're giving each other happiness. Kanha gets bored in the divine world listening to everybody doing his stuti and doing his arti. Like if someone just feeds you meetha all day long, after a while you think, I want some namkeen. So gopis are giving him that namkeen, a little bit of masala. This is just a couple of examples of Madhurya Bhav. In this same Madhurya Bhav, you have leelas like Ras Leela. Only gopis get to sing and dance with Radha Krishna in the divine Ras Leela. Only gopis get to take part in Jhulan Leelas with Radha and Krishna. There are so many special, intimate leelas that only the Madhurya Bhav devotees qualify to take part in. So this is the fifth shart, the fifth characteristic or condition of Raganuga Bhakti, that we should not worship God as God. We should adopt one of these four bhav as the means of loving Krishna, to take the godliness out of Krishna and not even have that in our consciousness, and only love Him. The love should be as we love people in this world. With that same bhav, we should love Shri Krishna, but of course with selflessness. That's what distinguishes it from worldly love. So tomorrow we'll continue with the next two important qualities that have to do with practical devotion. How do we practice? What do we actually have to do on a daily basis? That will be covered with the next two characteristics of bhakti from tomorrow. So let us finish now with a few minutes of kirtan. You can choose which bhav you want to think of Krishna with. Visualize his form, any age that you want, and choose dasya or sakhya or vatsalya or madhurya bhav. And as we do this kirtan, just visualize, do roop dhyan of being with Krishna according to that bhav. Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe
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 Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda 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 Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद 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 राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद 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 राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद 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 राधे 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 राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 राधे
अलबेली सरकार की
जय।
श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय।
जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे